Hello, this is Abby.
Dear Abbey, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh boy.
Dear Abbey, how do you tell the difference between a new exciting crush and a rebound?
Does it matter?
Dear Abbey.
Dear Abbey.
Dear Abbey.
Welcome to our little corner of the internet. This is the Dear Abbey podcast. I hope you stay and hang out with us. See you in a sec. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Abbey. This is coming to you live from my studio apartment. Technically not live, but let's roleplay, shall that we're live. Today we have some cool updates. We have some breaking news and we have some stuff going on. Not really, but I'm trying to keep the energy up. Today, we are talking about a couple of things, but first, we're going to do our normal dubs and L's. Then, oh my gosh, I'm out of breath. And then we're going to go into the details, which is our new segment if you're new around here. I mean, it's just one episode old, so you're not like missing out, or it's kind of new for everybody, but we're going to do in the details, and then we're going to talk about the main topic of today's episode, which is making mistakes, or shall I say better, this is more accurately what we're talking about. We're talking about not being so scared of making mistakes and really like embracing making mistakes and seeing that as a good thing instead of something so negative and scary and I never want to do it. That's what we're talking about today. I'm very excited for this episode because it's something that I really struggle with, and I am reminding myself and teaching myself and trying to be inspired by other people who aren't as scared to make mistakes and who just kind of go after life and not so cautious about everything. I aspire to be more like that. I like being attentive and not impulsive, but also I tend to overthink to the point where sometimes I wouldn't start anything because I was too scared to make a mistake or be a beginner. And I've talked about that before, but it's because I'm really passionate about it. I think it really like changes lives when maybe you have a belief, or maybe you have some, I don't know, subconscious thing going on that you're kind of scared to make mistakes. You don't try a lot of new stuff, or you don't kind of go after things, even if that's people or relationships or jobs, careers, art, hobbies, passions. We're all going to make a million mistakes. So that's what we're talking about today. And then we're going to do a Dear Abbey, and we actually have a Dear Abbey for today. So thank you guys. You're supporting me. I really actually appreciate when you guys do Dear Abbeys, and I know it's like might be a lot to ask, especially if you maybe feel more anxious. Just know I'm not looking at who you are. I'm not like snooping into everything, so you can ask whatever you want, and honestly, no judgment, no peeping into your life. Like, it's none of that. But I also love answering your guys' questions and hearing from your guys' voices, or from you, or your text voice, your text vibe. So I'm excited to get to that. But first we're going to do dubs and L's really quick. Okay, I don't have to repeat the whole thing. It's like half of the episode. I'm talking about what we're doing in the episode. My dub for this week is this is a dub from a while ago, but I've really been stewing on this in a positive way, or feeling really good about myself. Over Christmas break, I went to my family's house, and my brother got my mom a karaoke machine. So we were singing karaoke, having fun. I love karaoke. One thing that you don't need to know about me, but one thing I'll tell you about me is I love karaoke. I love actually to perform. You wouldn't think that maybe, or maybe you would, because I have a podcast, but I feel like I didn't think that about myself because, and I say this with the most love and respect in my heart, I think the sibling who's immediately above me, I will not name names, they loved the spotlight. And I think because I was a younger sister, I never really explored that because I was just like fine being on the back end. And I think sometimes I'd push to be in a home video where I'm like, you know what? No, it's my turn to dance for the camera. But that being said, I don't like love being in the limelight necessarily. I just like singing specifically and performing in that way. I was in choir all growing up, but in junior high, I did choir both years. However, every single day Because of my OCD now I know, but every single day when we would stand up to sing, I always was scared I was going to pass out. So I would excuse myself to go to the bathroom every single day about the same time. And if I didn't, I would be standing there and I would have so much anxiety and so much distress. And I would bend my knees. I would start to feel hot. I would get symptoms of as if I was going to pass out, because one time a friend of mine passed out when she was playing the recorder in 4th grade, and that was ingrained into my brain. And so then all the time moving forward, I was just like, I'm going to pass out. If my knees buckle, I can't let my knees buckle. I am not kidding when I say I probably went to the bathroom every single day in that class around the same time. Thankfully, my teacher didn't really stop me all the time. Sometimes he'd be like, no, Abby, not today. And I'd be like, you are a monster. You have no idea what you're doing to me. And then I'd be fine, but I would be panicking the whole time. But I never passed out. Never passed out. And don't even get me started on the concerts. I would do all of this work, but I loved it. So I signed up for choir again in the 8th grade because I was like, you know what? I'm going to go after this. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know if I'm dying. I don't know what's happening. I think maybe it's anxiety because I knew some of my family members had it, some of my extended relatives had it. And I was like, I haven't died yet. So it's obviously not dangerous, just extremely uncomfortable. So I would go to choir, signed up for it in 8th grade again, did the same thing all over again. And concerts were horrible. Concerts were me bending my knees every 2 seconds, even though you're told not really to do that. They say don't lock your knees, obviously. Every song, I'd panic. I would say watermelon, watermelon, watermelon. I didn't want to use my voice because I was scared if I actually sung, my lungs would deflate or that I would lose oxygen to my brain. So I would just try to breathe normally. I'd focus on my breath, but I would try to mouth the words to the song. All that being said, I love singing. I love choir. I love learning music. I love, it's just fun to me. And I enjoy singing. So the dub, I digressed a lot. Sorry. The dub was when we were singing karaoke. Normally when I sing Phantom of the Opera, I sing with my little brother. Cole, if you're listening, you know. And that's just a tradition at this point of singing Phantom of the Opera with him specifically, because he has he's good at projecting his voice. My little brother has a very full opera voice. And for me, I feel like I've always been more timid because I didn't let myself belt, or I didn't let myself just okay, here I am. I'm going to go full out for this karaoke. I would kind of hold it back just to not act like I care too much or act like I'm trying. Because karaoke can be awkward sometimes. It's I don't want to not try, but I don't want to try because what if people think I look stupid? But this time I was like, you know what? I just want to see how I can do if I just belt it in front of people. In the car, I've tried it. But so I sang the whole Phantom of the Opera. I nailed the notes. Everybody was shocked. And it was the first time I let myself actually open my chest, belt, singing. Don't know how good it was, but it felt good. That was a dub. And I was thinking about that because Phantom of the Opera came on in the car and I started singing again. And I was like, that felt pretty good to just be in front of people and actually let myself belt, even though I don't know if it sounded good or not, but it just felt good to be I'm free. If I crack my voice. My L for this week is just, I have not had a lot of discipline when it comes to working out. The new year, I felt like I just don't want to do it ever. And so I don't. But that's not good. I gotta at least do something. I feel like it's just working in an office, sitting all day. It's I sometimes get discouraged because I feel like I have to overcompensate for sitting all day, my posture and my body just being stagnant. So I try my best to go on walks at work or walk around and stand up and stuff like that. But I feel like it just can get discouraging. So sometimes when I come home, I'm having a hard time flipping my mindset to being excited to work out and move my body versus I'm so tired. I just want to lay down and do nothing again. But then I feel worse and worse and it kind of starts to pile up and my back starts to hurt, my neck starts to hurt, and all of these things start to escalate. So that's my L for this week. Now going into the details really quick. One of the little details I've noticed about life, a little glimmer of nature, of, to me, a higher being, a God, something grounding at the same time all around us, are the little chirpings of birds. I'm a big bird fan. And I developed a fascination with birds when I started going camping with my husband a lot when we were just dating. I started to see different color birds, like bright blue, bright red, like just a bunch of different birds. And I just found them so pretty, so calming. So my husband, on our honeymoon, we were going to Costa Rica, where they have a bunch of freaking beautiful, cool, tropical, but like really majestic looking birds. He bought me binoculars to take on our trip so I could go bird watching. And that was the most bird watching I've ever gotten to do. I saw so many different types of birds, and I should have wrote them down, but I didn't. So I need to like go back to my videos because I took a lot of videos through the binoculars. Specifically, the detail of the sound of birds chirping in the morning has always been a very grounding and wondrous experience. Every time I hear it, I feel like, because it's one of the only things, like animals that aren't domesticated, that are so close to God, to nature, to, something bigger than us, something that's happening, a whole system that's happening around us that we're not necessarily integrated with, but you can just watch it happen. Which you can do that with any animal in nature, but with birds, we see them in the city. So I think it's just one of the only like natural, non-domesticated animals that we see in the city, like doves, crows. If I go on a walk, I see other different types of like wrens and other birds. I hear them and I see different colors. They all have different little belly colors and they have different spots. And even if it's the same type of bird, they all look a little bit different. And they all look so cute, little cutie tiny ones. So I want to learn more about the specific birds I'm looking at, where to find them in the trees, which trees you'll find them in, what environment you'll find them in, what if they like humidity, whatever it is. And growing up, I'd listen to the birds when I'd wake up in the morning and they would chirp. They kind of wake you up. But I think it's such a calming, grounding, peaceful, wondrous experience to listen to the birds or to see birds, because they're connected to something that is, what we're all connected to, and they're just doing their own thing. Those are the things that I've been thinking about in the details. Meat of today's episode, we're talking about mistakes. I have had a lot of struggles in my life with giving up, and I've also used to be, and still can be naturally, as like my first instinct is very scared of making mistakes. And if I do make a mistake, it's not like a good learning process, and that's not sometimes what I initially think about a mistake that I make. It can feel so daunting and heavy, and and it says something about me that's negative, and it just turns into something bigger than what it actually is, which is just a mistake. And I'm trying something new, I'm doing something I've never done before, or maybe I have done it and I'm just tired and I forget something. What a mistake is you don't mean to do it, and you just do something incorrectly in whatever way that is, but at least you're doing something. Mistakes can feel so heavy if we have like some type of belief or some type of a belief around what a mistake can mean. If you think it means you're totally negligent on your part, maybe you think it means you're not enough. Maybe it means that you're different than everybody else in a bad way. Maybe it means you're not meant to do that. I think a big thing for me was always kind of magical or more like superstitious type of thinking, to where if I wasn't initially good at something, I thought that was just, I shouldn't do it. And that I should only do things that I'm naturally really good at. And so I would quit things. And I'd be like, well, I don't want to just keep making mistakes. It doesn't feel good to do that. So I probably shouldn't do that. And the older I get, and obviously the more experience in life that I have, the more mistakes I actually have made, one of them being not trying to make mistakes, is I've opened my mind to so many new perspectives about making mistakes, and that it is a learning experience. And without mistakes, you wouldn't have any growth or wisdom or experience. Like, experience is so important, and in almost every experience we have in life, we're going to make mistakes learning it. So another factor maybe can be you're scared of what other people might think. Like, what if you try to be a nurse and you can't do like the IV correctly the first time or the 10th time, or I don't know, you make a mistake. And so sometimes we don't even try to do that because we're scared that we're going to make the mistake, so we just don't even start. I think that's just something that later on in life, like even me, and I'm not even 30 yet, I feel like some regret in not trying to just go after some things, and maybe I'll look stupid. Again, it's kind of like the singing thing. Like maybe I'll make a mistake and I'll go flat, and I definitely did multiple times. But just because we're not initially good at something doesn't mean it's not meant for us. Sometimes with OCD or anxiety, but with my OCD, sometimes it makes me feel, again, with that superstitious type of thinking, like if it's not easy or it's not coming naturally or coming quickly for me, it's not supposed to happen. And I should stop trying because something bad's going to happen if I keep trying to do something I'm not supposed to be doing. And I think for some people, they might think that's silly, but for me, it feels pretty real. I feel more controlled in that way, which isn't fair because there are things that I do feel like I'm drawn to, that my OCD, that type of my brain is like, you shouldn't be doing that. You're not good at it, or it's not something that you've like, are you sure you deep down feel like you should be doing this? Because I think you might think you're drawn to it, but maybe you're actually not. And maybe you're making a mistake. That sometimes can just be ammo that OCD uses to get you, that OCD or anxiety can use, or depression sometimes can use to get you to not do something that's new, or that's like kind of creating a new wiring system in your brain or a new neural pathway that like you're going to make a mistake. What if you make a mistake? Then I learn that I'm experiencing something. Maybe then I know for sure as much as I can that that's not what I'm supposed to do. But like any way that it falls, any way the dominoes fall, I'll be able to handle it. There's a quote from Ellie Modesitt Jr. Shadow Singer. I don't know if that's a real person. This is just a quote that was on Pinterest that I have in my reworking shame and OCD recovery folder. I don't know if that's a public board, but I have just a bunch of saved things that have really helped me and that I kind of go back to remind myself of. The quote says, "Wisdom is a product of experience, and experience comes from mistakes." There's something beautiful when I listen to somebody that has lived a full life, like they're, a little bit older, and they're telling me about their life or something they've experienced, something they wish they did differently, something they did right, something they learned about life. And almost every single one of the stories comes with a mistake that they made, or something that they didn't notice during that time, and something was but then they noticed too late, or they didn't prioritize something that later on in life they were like, oh, I wish that I did that wrong, and I wish I could have done it differently. And sometimes, again, that's in their relationship. They wish that they made a lot of mistakes in arguments, or learning how to fight with their significant other, learning how to recover after like an argument, or maybe they tried to argue too much and, they make mistakes in that relationship. And maybe somebody feels scared to start a relationship because we don't want to break up. We don't want to make a mistake and then everything falls apart. We can't guarantee either way that that's going to happen. But what I can guarantee is you are going to make mistakes. As well as, I think for a lot of people that are around me, they're having kids. For me, when I have kids, I'm really scared to have kids because I'm scared I'm going to make those mistakes. And I don't want to scar them or hurt them or have them resent me later on in life. And that's horrifying to me. And I'm trying to help myself be more at terms, like be more okay with, I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to take a deep breath if I get frustrated. I'm going to make a plan, a game plan, for different situations. I don't know. I'm not a parent yet. And then also give myself so much grace and room for mistakes and errors. And it's a beautiful thing to listen to somebody tell stories about a mistake that they make or something that they learned by making a mistake. And I feel like that to me is wisdom. And when I'm listening to somebody that's lived that have kind of gone for life and they have those mistakes, they're a lot more grounded. And I want to aspire to be like that more, to where I feel more grounded because I'm more confident, because I have more wisdom, because I have more experience, because I've made a lot of mistakes, because I've tried a lot of things. Whatever interest it is, to go for it and be a beginner and to have fun being a beginner. Don't just be a beginner to eventually get good. That's not the point. that to me is exhausting, and I never feel like I'm going to get there, especially with my art, with my painting, with my sketching. I'm really actually loving the process of learning. And every day I'm so proud of myself because I'm now starting to like understand, if I look at something, I can sketch it. And I mean, it's not perfect. It's not shaded perfectly by any means, but I'm starting to get it. Things are starting to click for me. I'm just really proud that I am not giving up that, because it's something I want to do. So even if I'm not naturally good at drawing, and I never have been, it's been really cool to just see growth. And I've made a lot of mistakes. The amount of creepy eyes I have drawn at 10 o'clock at night on my iPad that I immediately have to erase because I get scared of them. Sometimes I draw faces, and it's like the second I start to do the eyes, I'm scared of my drawing. And I'm like, what have I done? It's like I've created Frankenstein's monster. I'm like, what have I done? This thing is creepy, and I have to erase it all, and I have to start over. I just drew an eye for the first time sketching, and it actually didn't look scary, and it looked like a normal eye. And that was, my mind was blown that I actually got better, because I keep doing it, and I make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of creepy characters. But that's just one example. Like, I think Federer talks about the tennis player, Roger Federer, I think, or one of them. I don't remember. Probably should have looked this up, but they talked about how many times they've missed their serve. Like, how many times have they made mistakes, these professional athletes? Or how many best-selling authors have tried to write a book and they got rejected, or their editor's like, this sucks, this part sucks, you shouldn't be a writer. But then they're like, well, I want to be a writer. And so they keep writing. Like, you're not going to become something if you're not doing it. It's the work you put into something. It's the time. Time is so precious, and time is so valuable. When you put time into something, it's just automatically going to pay off. Even if you don't have a lot of money to put towards school, if that doesn't feel like the path that you want to take is you want to save up and then go to school, then whatever you're trying to go to, I mean, obviously if you're going to be a doctor or something that needs schooling, or a lawyer, obviously you need to do that. I mean, I guess you could just, I don't really know how that works at the bar but you have so much more life to live. You know, it's not the end for you. And maybe you're stuck in a job, and I'm talking very much projecting. I'm very much projecting. Maybe you're stuck in a job that you don't want to work at forever. And I'm great. And, you know, not me and not maybe you're grateful for it, but maybe you're like, I really wish that I had stuck with something that I really liked, and I could have been there by now. But maybe we could change that mindset and just say, what can I do now about it? Okay, yes, that was the past. What can I do now? And think to the future. Learn from the past mistakes. That's wisdom. How can I take that into the future and take that wisdom, those mistakes, that experience, and turn it into wisdom? Turn it into something good. You know, wear your mistakes like a badge of honor. And I feel like it can feel like that when they're not crazy, when they're not, you know, horribly against the law or something, but mistakes that we all make every day in life. And wear it as a badge of honor that you're trying something new, you're doing something, you're learning, you're experiencing, you're living life. And it's like one of the most beautiful parts about life, and something that I believe that we fought to be able to make those mistakes, you know, and that's important, that choice. Anyways, we all make mistakes. The person that you think isn't making mistakes that you're looking at, they definitely make mistakes. Whatever it is that you're aspiring to be, and you look up to somebody in that area, in that expertise, they're a master, they're an expert. They also were in your position, and what separates them from you is time and effort and work. Also, they've made so many mistakes in order to get to that point. And the reason they maybe can speak so eloquently on something, or maybe they can be such a good tutor, or maybe they can just make amazing stuff and be super successful, is because they've learned from their mistakes. So that's what I wanted to talk about with that. We're going to switch gears. We're going to do a Dear Abbey, and then that'll be it for today's episode. I'll be right back. We're back. I have my handy dandy phone. I haven't been able to really use the phone, but it's such a cute prop, and I've had it, and it's dusty under my bed, so I wanted to get it out. But this is just a text message question. Dear Abby. Oh, it feels so good to be reading this again. Dear Abby, I'm positive I have OCD, and I'm looking to go to therapy for the first time in my life. I am not in the midst of an OCD flare-up right now, and I know it would be beneficial, but I'm terrified. So my question is, do you have any advice for someone looking into starting therapy? Thanks in advance. I do have a couple pieces of advice for that. One of the first things that come to my mind is be aware that your therapist is not there just to like fix you. Like that's not necessarily their job, is to do the work for you. Their job is to help you know what to do and to obviously help diagnose if there is something going on and know how to treat it. So they know what homework to give you. They know what things you need to focus on, and they also listen to you. Not judging, not like making all these assumptions. They listen to you. And they're like an unbiased person that listens to your life story, that listens to things that you struggle with, to some of the thoughts that bother you. And it's okay if it takes a while to warm up to the new experience of going to therapy. Be patient with yourself, because sometimes it's hard to open up fully to somebody else, because we might open up a little bit, but for me, it took a long time to really like let my therapist into my whole inner world. They're really good at like kind of prodding and getting it out, because that's literally their job. They're trying to pull the layers back to get to like the source of, what's causing us so much misery. So be patient with yourself. Be patient also with your therapist. I think it's important to find the right therapist. And I think that just means that you feel comfortable with them. You feel like they actually listen and they care. They're not going to, again, fix you overnight. They're not going to, like, a good therapist is in it for the long haul. They're not going to try to make it take super long, but also I feel like a good therapist isn't expecting any huge change really fast, because they're committed to you. They're committed to their clients. They're committed to, I don't care how long this takes, or even if it takes 2 months, then awesome. But if it takes 2 years, if it takes 20 years, like, I'm here for it, and we'll figure this out. And if treatment isn't working, we'll try something else. Yeah, just be patient all around. But also you can be like, if you don't like your therapist, you can maybe request a new one if you don't feel super comfortable, or, whatever it is. And as much as it might take a second to open up, this is the time to kind of push yourself to open up, to explore, to try to figure out what's really happening inside of you, what things are like keep coming to the surface, all of that stuff. So it's a really good time so I would take it seriously. Like, if you're paying for the therapy, take it seriously and do the homework, especially. Number one piece of advice, actually, just do what your therapist is asking you to do. I struggled with that. I struggled to believe that they knew how to help my OCD, because I had gone to therapists before and they just made me feel better for a second, but then like it got worse and worse, and it wasn't like a lasting, like, actual change in me. So I had doubts and I was a little bit skeptical, but I came out on top. I came out the other way. And I think it's super valuable, especially for things like OCD that are they need like a specialized therapist who knows how to treat that specific illness. Definitely find someone who's an OCD specialist, and learn and be curious about other techniques other than ERP. Like, ERP was super helpful for me. It's a golden standard. And also ACT therapy was really helpful for me. And there's other therapies that can be combined with ERP, that if you're feeling like you're kind of getting tired of the ERP, but you still feel like you need support in some way, then you can ask them about, like, do you know any other therapies that, you could teach me and that we could work on together? If they're a good therapist, a lot of times they might already be thinking of that if they're noticing, or if they're like getting a sense that something's not working or you're getting bored of something. I think that's all the advice that I have on that. But it's always a brave thing to start therapy. I know a lot of people go to therapy nowadays, and it kind of became like a very, like, just a lot of people posting about going to therapy, which I think is positive. I think some of the negative things that can come with it is just if you're going to therapy just because everybody else is doing it, versus if you have a really deep desire and something does need to change, and it's going to be hard work, and it's not just going to be like fun crying every single time and like easy. It can be pretty It can be pretty hard, but it's very cathartic, obviously, and it's super helpful. But it's really exciting, and it can really spark like a change in yourself that you just might need a little bit of a push. So I wish you all the luck, all the love, and all the ERP on your OCD recovery, OCD therapy journey. Okay, well, I think that is it for today's episode, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to Dear Abbey. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you want to support the podcast, you can leave a rating and a review on Apple and Spotify, as well as I post everything on YouTube, so you can go like, subscribe, comment on there. I'd love to hear from you guys on YouTube. I love YouTube comments. I love any comments on Spotify, any conversation, anything you guys ever say to me, I love and I read and I'm grateful for. If you want to go above and beyond, you can post my podcast on your Instagram story or on your Facebook or wherever you go online, and or word of mouth, obviously. If you know someone that struggles with OCD or anxiety or depression or any mental illness, you can maybe send them this podcast and see if they'd be interested. Possibly. Yeah, that is it. I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful weekend. It's Thursday, baby. Friday Junior. That's what some guy kept saying at my work, and it stuck in my head. Friday Junior, baby. Almost the weekend, so take yourself out, have fun, do good stuff, be kind to yourself. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Love you guys. Bye.
우회전 taking a ride to journey 눈치 보면서 들어가야 할 때 찾아 나머진 바빠 개설레임 바꾸는 사람들